Okay, share my screen. Evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight for the Canterbury focused area focus meeting. You are our last area. If there's anyone else from outside of Canterbury, thank you for also attending. For you, those that don't know me, I'm Lizzie Turnbull, the CEO of New Zealand Pony Club. I've been with New Zealand Pony Club for 2 years in this capacity, but prior to that, I have been a rider at Pony Club in my younger years, and then I've also been a branch president and a club DC. So I've been on those committees and then stepped away when my daughter stepped away from Pony Club, but my daughter's a bit of a revolving Pony Club member. She keeps on coming back and then leaving and then coming back, especially as she gets younger horses. So with me tonight, I have 2 board members and they can introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Dina Wowes. I live in Hamilton in the mighty Waikato. I too, like Lizzie, have had a very strong pony club background, grew up doing pony club myself. Then that led to my child doing pony club when she was 5. I joined her up, and then again, like Lizzie, ended up being on our branch committee, and then moving in to Hamilton DC, which is a position that I've just handed over. So yeah, very enjoying my new role as a board member and learning lots, and looking forward to meeting you all at conference.
Hey everyone, my name's Kelly Hickler. I'm from Central Otago, just sitting here waiting for the snow to arrive, like many of you guys. Yeah, I've got 2 young riders right in the middle of Pony Club. I'm currently head coach of our branch, Clyde Pony Club. I've done that role for a couple of years now, and previous to that was actually head coach in a pony club pre my kids attending as well. So yeah, been in the system for a wee while, went through the system as a rider as well. So yeah, enjoying having all these meetings, meeting everyone. Yeah, and obviously the coaches conference the weekend before last.
Excellent. Well, Dina and Kelly, I actually want to formally introduce you to someone I mention all the time in these. Anne here, if you both pop your hand up, Anne.
Hi, Anne.
So Anne is a former board member and one of our life members. And
wow.
She happened to help me through a tricky situation when I was a DC. She was an amazing guiding light. And I don't think we've got Geraldine on here, have we, Anne? Or anyone?
I think she is.
Oh, she is?
Well, if she's not yet, she's coming.
Well,
she's at a birthday party, so give her a few minutes.
Okay. Well, when she comes, if someone can just point out so we can welcome Geraldine as also one of our life members and former presidents. And, of course, Kelly and Dina will meet you at conference. Okay, let's get started. So thank you for coming along tonight. It does say May up there, but we are definitely in June. So what's on tonight is that the purpose of this session is to recap the proposed structural review of becoming a 3-layer organisation alongside updating our constitution. We have to update our constitution as per the Incorporated Societies Act of 2022. We do not have an option on that, but it was felt that it was the perfect opportunity to look at the structure of New Zealand Pony Club and review it once again. The last review was actually done by Anne and Nikki Williams in around 2011. So we're going to look at that. We'd also like to discuss with you what your area may look like under a proposed 3-layer organisation versus what it currently looks like under a 4-layer organisation under this proposal. We want to share the process and the timeline if a change to the structure was voted on by the membership at the national AGM, because currently this is just a proposal. We'd like to also share the process and timeline for updating constitutions, because that has to happen. So, and what support we will be providing at head office and how the board will be supporting you as well. Just definitely to reiterate that we are in the consultation phase and that feedback is being called from all our members, because all our members' voices collectively make up the branch voice, the club voice, the area voice. The feedback deadline, it says end of May, but the feedback survey is actually still open. We will be using that feedback on Thursday. So I know you guys are really close to the end of this. So your feedback's important. So I do need to suggest that we get quite quick feedback from you independently. All the feedback will help shape the final version of the Constitution. This is definitely not just a rubber stamping exercise. This is full consultation. So we've had people question membership, questioned voting. So we definitely need your feedback. And the final vote for the Constitution will be taking place at the National AGM in August, which is in Christchurch. So nice and local for you guys. Before we get on to the next page, we've been asked a few times, how is New Zealand Pony Club doing? And I think New Zealand Pony Club is continues to be in a really good space. We continue to be strong. We do have times where we lose members in certain areas, but then we build in other areas. So it continues to be strong. People have asked us, what is our vision for Pony Club? How will we know that Pony Club is successful? And our answer to that isn't actually based on the structure of Pony Club, because any structure we'd be expecting to see that Pony Club was thriving. So Pony Club would be successful if it was thriving. We'd like to see the same or even more kids coming through Pony Club, going through rallies, certificates if that's where they want to be, going to events and achieving at their pace. So that to us is what success looks like. Another thing that's really potentially for us what shows a successful Pony Club is that people are stepping up and they're volunteering, they're coaching, and your committees are full. So that is one of the motivators, that they are some of the motivators behind this review, because we are really aware that volunteers are precious. So you're all precious, and that we need you, and we don't want you to be burnt out by multiple layers or multiple expectations. So tonight, why are we having these meetings? Because when Kelly and I were working originally on our first introduction webinars, the board had been living this idea since about October, November. And when we came to put it on paper, we found it was a really abstract idea. And Kelly and I were sitting there trying to figure it all out. And we couldn't do a one-fit-all solution. That was our first thing on paper, was to go onto paper and just do this to you, do this for you. And then we were like, but everyone is so different and it feels really conceptual. So we wanted to have a meeting where we could design and work with our branches and our clubs and our areas to understand what the changes could look like for them, but you guys having a voice. So tonight we'll hopefully cover the day-to-day operations of your clubs, branches and areas under a new structure, the decision-making authorities, event coordination and delivery, any communication and reporting lines, and how we'd support you. If any time anyone's got any questions, just pop your hand up or raise it in that there. And also, I forgot to say that you will be getting the minutes of tonight, and you will be getting the slides and a link to the recording.
And you are welcome just to put a comment in the chat if you want. Kelly and I can keep an eye on that.
Excellent. Which one of you two would love to do this page?
Oh, you go, Kelly.
Okay. That's good. Okay, so obviously the Constitution needs to be reviewed, as Lily said, to be in line with the new Act. The Constitution is a really important document for New Zealand Pony Club because it outlines our purposes and our powers, and that's represented constitution level. We get obviously fund based on our purpose of being a youth organisation, having our welfare at the forefront of what we do as well. They're all listed and later on our purpose will be represented in every constitution now. So the constitution also important because it apparently I'm glitching. Am I glitching?
A little bit,
A
yeah.
little bit.
So
But it's
do
okay.
you want Dina to take over that part? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah.
You
So
take over then if I'm glitching.
So following on from what Kelly has just said, the importance of this document, and I suppose what we are consulting on tonight or asking for your feedback tonight is the NZPCA constitution. So this isn't the constitution for the area clubs or branches. What comes out of this will flow on down to the area clubs and branches. It's not a list of the membership rules and regulations, because again, so from you'll see on the screen there, the rules and regulations sit aside of what the area constitutions are like, and so a lot of our things are governed under the rules and regulations. This is also not the final version. We're still very much in the draft form of what we're doing. I suppose there's been a few comments on the timeline and how come it is a little bit tight in what we're doing, but we did have to wait to get a template from Sports New Zealand. Being sporting organisations, we do align with them. When we received that template, it was discovered that it was a little bit quite dramatically different from what we had, so therefore we felt that we couldn't track it up or mark it up. So Todd just trucked on ahead basically and made it work as best as we possibly could for our organisation. So that's what we've put up as the draft consultation or the draft constitution for you guys to review at this stage. Is there any questions on that?
I think it's important to note that event regulations and rules sit to the side, and so do like your certificate regulations sit to the side, because as we make changes to our events, like last year, we made changes to the eventing champs NQSs for teams and how we scored teams. And if it was inside the constitution, that's actually a remit change that happens at the AGM. So they sit outside so we can make those changes as we need based on the recommendations of the working groups, the TNE working group, which Bex is a part on here in this meeting, to make sure we stay relevant. Excellent. Okay, let's keep going. So this is the timeline that we were just mentioning before. And as you can see there, we've begun that discussion of what a 3-layer structure looks like. Prior to this, we did actually have the area forum in February where all the areas sent 1 to 2 representatives and had the conversation about what this could look like. And then, of course, the introduction of webinars. So this is the discussion of what a 3-layer structure could look like for your area and its full consultation. On Thursday, we've got a board meeting, and at that board meeting, a big focus topic will be, what is the feedback saying? What is the feedback telling the board? Does the membership support a 3-layer change, or does the membership wish to remain with the current layers? Being a constitutional change, it's a 75% vote to get a constitutional change, a structural change across the line. So the board really need that feedback, because they need to know that, yes, they're heading in the right direction, or do they park this? Do they park this and say, it was reviewed before, okay, people have the choice to be 3 layers within the system and we just continue on as status quo, or do we keep going? Because they need to work on giving a version by the 2nd or 3rd of July, that you will take back to your clubs, your branches, so they can have their input on. And this really depends on if it's a 3-layer or 4-layer. So some people have said we haven't got a plan B. We do. The plan B is now saying the membership does support a 3-layer constitution. We're going ahead with that, or it does not. And that will be the constitution presented on that. At the AGM in August, your areas, of course, get 1 vote, and then your clubs get up to 3 votes based on their riding members' numbers. And of course, those are your motions at your normal monthly meeting. In July, you will also get information about the board elections, because there's 2 board positions and nominations closed yesterday, I think. And you'll get that information, you'll get electronic voting information, and you'll get the constitution information. So any feedback is really needed, because we want to craft the constitution to the layers that our members want. After the vote, if it's successful, hopefully successful, it will be submitted to the Incorporated Society. So even though we're using a Sports NZ template, we still have to submit to the Sports to Incorporated Society. But in July, behind the scenes, Todd, who's been crafting this constitution, will draft the next layers of the constitution downwards. So he'd have those out to you as soon as possible, even probably prior to the AGM, I think was his current plan. So you'd be able to see the layers, depending on the structure, of what they look like. If it is a constitutional layer change, we'd be working with you in July and August and September to firm up and finalise what your area would look like, and then be going through the SGMs of special general meetings to look at you approving your constitution. One thing is that we do need to check all the constitutions. That is just one of the things now that we have to do. As you might be aware, currently you can approach the board for a quorum reduction. That is a constitutional change. So we'd be making sure that any constitutional changes were approved and in line with the direction of New Zealand Pony Club. So you couldn't necessarily change it and say that you were going to, one of the ones is assets, that you couldn't give them to whoever you liked. It's that type of change, but you might be able to say our quorum for this year, we need a quorum of 5 versus 7, and that would be a discussion between yourselves, me, and the board, I being your agent. If there is a change to the structure of New Zealand Pony Club and everyone is becoming a 3-layer structure, it has been suggested that we have a nationwide change date like Gypsy Day. So that is a little bit of the timeline, but our biggest part now is that feedback and getting feedback from you. And I'm sorry that you guys are really late in the process, but hopefully after this you can all go directly there and put your initial feedback in. Okay. So currently this is what New Zealand Pony Club looks like. So there is that opportunity to be 3 layers, or there's the opportunity to be 4 layers. And so we have 15 areas currently, 87 clubs, which are a mixture of clubs with branches and clubs without branches. In your area, I think I'll have to go to the slide, sorry, escapes me. But see, we've got some examples. We've got Otago Southland, with Central Otago being the club and Clyde being the branch, or in my area, Bay of Plenty Pony Club and Te Puke as a club by itself. Here are our 15 areas, and one thing that we all noticed is that no one in New Zealand is the same geographically. No one is the same makeup with their clubs or their branches, and the geographic space doesn't actually correspond often to the number of memberships numbers either. So massive area. We've had lots of conversations with people about oh, our area is too big or our area is too small. I never realised there was even a branch on Stewart Island. Well, sorry, that Stewart Island was there, but of course it would be. So some of the questions that we've been having from people, in particular, if we were looking at a structural change, is this about clubs losing their identity? Absolutely not. We would never want to see clubs losing their own identity unless they wanted to. A prime example of that is Monganui in Northland. They are the merger of Kaitaia and Awanui branch clubs. They became Monganui Club. They chose an absolute new name to reflect where they were. They also kept their uniforms separate for a while, and they were also able, because of their councils, to keep both venues. Alternatively, Wanganui and Petrie and Manawatu West Coast, when they combined, they kept both names, Wanganui and Petrie. So we, of course, encourage you to keep your names, your uniforms, and your traditions alive. Tikawiti Districts has got the cups for 8 branches in one club now. So lots and lots of cups, lots and lots of traditions. Is this all about closing clubs? Absolutely not. You know, we don't go around looking out there to close clubs, but we are aware that sometimes clubs do become really small, and they have to make that difficult decision to either close or merge. But that has always happened in Pony Club. Just as I said before, Tikawiti Districts was 8 branches, now 1 club. It's definitely not about reducing events. What our main focus is on focusing where the rider spends their most time. Where do they spend their Pony Club journey? And our big aim is to improve that consistency and that support for our clubs. If you were merging or closing, what happens to your assets? So assets remain within your area and your clubs, and you definitely get a say in it. In the current constitution, it's currently there and it will remain there. Pony Club assets must remain in Pony Club, and I know that there are some historical agreements and shared assets around, and we understand that. But it's like you can't go and gift your money to the cat sanctuary down the road. They need to stay within Pony Club, and you get to suggest where they go, and the board approves it or denies that. You could also do things like, if you're in the situation when Turangi Pony Club closed, they'd had, unfortunately, their building had burnt down and they had quite a large amount of money. They've put it into Bay of Plenty Pony Club, but earmarked a large sum of money for riders from the Turangi area to help them with their transportation. So they've put some parameters around the money that sits in Bay of Plenty. Is it about hosting events? Will you be able to host events? Absolutely. One of the little conversations we've had is to actually host an event, you don't have to be an incorporated society unless you're going for massive funding. So Tauranga Show Jumping is an incorporated society. It goes for funding for its previous World Cup events. It has very few events now. Where Tauranga Dressage is not incorporated, runs events all the time, but it gets sponsorship. So you still be able to run events if you're not incorporated, but we're envisioning that we're incorporated at all layers like was decided previously. What else are we saying here? Why now? Because in 2011, and Anne can jump in here because she knows the story more than me, that when the board, the committee of management at that time, they were looking at the committee of management becoming a board of 5 elected and 2 appointed board members. It was also suggested to review then with removing a layer. At the time, it was decided to continue on with the committee of management becoming a board and to park the reduction of a layer, but come back to it later on. And in that time, I've been in Pony Club again 2 years, and it is always a topic of discussion from people. Like, what layer are you going to remove? Come on, have a look again. You know, we wish that we only had 2 layers or volunteer burnout, or our committee's not full. So it was decided with that in mind, this was the perfect time to have a look and get your feedback. And once again, this is following a democratic process. So, you know, if we get the voices that say, what are you doing? Park this, it will be parked. If we get the voices that support this, it will go forward. Are there any questions so far? Okay, so as we go into having a look at Canterbury area, these are some of the questions that we've had come to us so far. Are the area boundaries still what we need today? So we're aware that roads have been built in some areas. We're also aware that some areas have become more urban and lost their rural grounds. So that was one of the conversations. And as I said before, Kelly and I don't know everywhere in New Zealand. We're not experts of the geographic locations in New Zealand. Like where I currently live, I'm in Katikati, but apparently Te Araha is closer to me than Katikati town. But unfortunately, there's this big mountain range between me and Te Araha. So on Google Maps, I could see a hill, but I wouldn't know that necessarily if I was trying to find where people are. So we definitely wanted to have these meetings and you decide. We've had conversations with Auckland and Franklin Thames Valley and Waitemata Rodney and Northland, actually all of them, about, are some of their clubs in the wrong place? I've had clubs in Kapiti and Waikanae that are Manawatu West Coast say to us, well, we're actually more Wellington and identify with Wellington than we do Manawatu West Coast. Or Danny Verk Pony Club said to us, we're actually in the Wairarapa, but we're in the Hawke's Bay. So there's those type of conversations going on as well. And no matter what the layers are, those conversations can continue as well. I think there was a question in the chat.
Yeah, it was from Jan, Christchurch Pony Club, and it said, would the club example Christchurch possibly be automatically transferred to the area hub if that was what was preferred? And we're probably going to talk about that later, aren't we, Lizzie?
So we hold that
we've
question
got a couple,
and come back.
Yeah.
Okay. Are the others going to be answered maybe a little bit later on? I can't see it. Okay. One of the things that we're really focusing on too is my branch or club youth focused and providing for the purpose of Pony Club. As Kelly said before, that we are under Sports NZ and we get our funding, a lot of our funding, because we are youth focused. We're a youth organisation. So we sit at the Sports NZ table with Girl Guides and Cubs. And we're lucky because we're youth focused. We're absolutely youth orientated. So we are in a strong position with that. So when we look at the purposes of Pony Club, we need to make sure that we see that. And one of the things in the current constitution, as it says, a club is a group of 15 members, of which 8 must be adults. It was inferred, or meant to infer, that 7 were meant to be youth, but because it's not actually written that way, it's not actually breaking the rules when we see clubs that have got 15 adults and no kids. So we do have to question in that situation, are they youth focused when they've got no youth riders under 25? So we are encouraging that youth focus and providing for that purpose. One of the questions has to be, does my branch or club have enough members to operate? And as I said, it's currently 15, but in the new actual incorporated act, it's a group of 10. So 10 will be the magic number. How that looks, is how many kids, how many adult ratio, that is something that the board needs to decide, but that will also be part of that negotiable factor when you put your incorporated societies in. So that will be part of that. And is my branch or club in the right area? Especially if you're on the cusp of one area. I interestingly had in the Manawatu West Coast conversation, someone say to me, it's closer to actually drive to Canterbury now then go all the way up the west coast and come around. So they weren't saying they were coming to you, but that was the type of conversations that have been had. Okay. You two are looking at those questions, aren't you? So you'll let me know if there's some that. So here's the purpose of Pony Club, and it will be in all constitutions. And we definitely need to, Dina mentioned yesterday, we're talking youth in here. It's only in here a couple of times, isn't it, Dina, about youth?
Yes.
So it might
Yes.
actually say in here a few more times about being youth focused. But it's an amateur sport. It's for the well-being and enjoyment of the general public. It looks at the training and the qualification of Pony Club members, coaches and examiners. So about our certificate system, young equestrians, promote the welfare of horses, the education of horses, health and safety, events. So that is our purpose of Pony Club. So if you feel we've missed something off on the purpose of Pony Club, please let us know. And this is what the purpose is of the Constitution as well. Okay, I'll move on. Okay, so if we were looking at a 3-layer system for New Zealand Pony Club, these would be the 3 layers that we'd be looking at. We've got our national layer, and then we've got our club / what you currently might be branch layer. But under the 3-tier system layer, we'd be calling our branches clubs. So we wouldn't have branches anymore, we'd just be having clubs, an administrative layer, and a national layer. Admittedly, when we first came out with this, we did call the administrative layer a cluster, and then we started calling it a hub, but we've highlighted it now being an administrative layer. We wanted to call it something that didn't confuse people, because people are getting quite confused with club when we got club. But our purposing in layer 3 is riders don't go to their pony branch. They all say they're going to Pony Club. So we believe that that's the foundation of the Riders Pony Club experience. It's where they spend their time. It's where they receive the instruction. It's where they work towards their certificates and their learning. They build community. And this is where the regular rallies, the coaching, and developing safe and capable riders, volunteers, and horses and ponies. So a bit like the rugby club, the cricket club, Pony Club. The national layer is where we set the visions and the values and strategy for pony clubs across New Zealand to ensure a consistency in the standards, overseeing those national competitions, managing our partnerships, maintaining our policies, our frameworks, including our safety, education, and certificate. So in that middle layer is the administrative layer, which you currently see as your area or potentially your club if you're with branches, and the purpose is that governance and oversight, being that intermediate layer between clubs and national bodies. But we're not saying you can't just directly come to head office. You can always directly come to head office. That will never cease. Developing and supporting our riders, those area champs, the training camps, the talent pathways, potentially even facilitating inter-club events. Resource sharing, potentially targeting applications, any ownership of shared resources, and also those best practice forums for our committees and sharing governance and their operational layer. One of the things that we've been finding by going around the country into their living rooms, we've even been into someone's wardrobe, that was interesting, is that a lot of the areas want to retain the area as the administrative layer. So have national layer and administrative layer. So they're questioning what happens to their clubs and their branches. So that's dependent on each area. And that wasn't something we envisaged at the start, but that seems to be a lot of the feeling. But there are some that are going, hey, we're way too big. We want to actually divide and become 2 hubs within an area.
Waikato was an example of that because they're quite big. So there were some conversations around, do we have like North Waikato, Central Waikato and Southern Waikato? So that's definitely something that they are talking about.
Excellent. Okay, let's go into the fun stuff. So this is you guys. Please let me know if my numbers are wrong too. I had this awful habit the other day. I went into one club and I went to go 1 + 9 to make it 10 and I wrote 19. So do come back to me if I've done some typing mistakes. These will be, of course, checked before the annual report. This is just the first draft of numbers. So these are your figures in Canterbury as of the annual report figures. Of course, in the annual report, we do split out the under 18s and 18 to 25s. But here are your totals for the Canterbury area. And I think you're about 10% of our membership. Yeah, 10%, just over 10% of our membership is based in Canterbury. So as you can see there, you've got 3 clubs and you've got multiple branches in Christchurch, multiple branches in North Canterbury. Do note, I haven't in the diagram down the side put in Ellesmere or Little River or Balmoral because they're in the process of closure. So that was intentional. I apologise if that causes any offence. So pretty massive. So let's go. The next slides are just play. These are example only. Please, please don't get concerned if I've merged you or done something with you because I don't know where you all are. Really interesting though. Most of you could stand alone. You could all stand alone. The ones that are continue to operate under the new constitution as clubs in their own right.
I would think that also, Lizzie, we've actually got Canterbury area sitting above Christchurch, Horonori and North Canterbury.
Oh, we do.
Haven't we? So that other
Yes,
layer in there.
sorry.
But that
Oh.
looks like a very good picture anyway.
Oh, look at that. Thank you for picking that up. That's what happens when you have COVID, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's like wonderful. Okay. Oh, now I've made a real mistake. Oh. I've lost New Zealand Pony. Oh, okay. It's like it doesn't want to work like this for me. So we'll just move everyone over one and then you can see what you actually look like. I'm sorry about that. Absolutely human.
Oh yeah, that's how it goes.
Luckily, I'm not in Canada, not in China.
Luckily.
Okay, so sorry, it's going to be wrong on the next little just diagram on the next picture, but yeah. So there you go. That's what you look like now. Thanks, Kelly. Everyone else was just sitting there and like kind of accepting it. Okay, so if we were looking at you under a 3-tier system,
Without
now my
video. I don't need the video.
So this is what you could look like. So what I've done here, example only, retaining the area is the second layer and all branches become clubs. So there you are, all along the line, all reporting directly to Canterbury area. Similar, large enough that you could decide what it looks like for your Canterbury area as in Canterbury area meetings. If you would expect a delegate from each club to be represented, no shortage though at a meeting.
Will the delegate numbers stay the same as they currently are with 1 or with 2, Lizzie?
They're currently 1, aren't they? Or 2?
2.
1, 2. I think
2.
in that situation, if you were that big like this, you could look at
Yeah.
one in this situation. But if you were little, like King Country, you'd need 2 or 3. You'd need to have enough people on the committee. So yeah. Okay. And the next layer, I didn't actually do anything to you because I don't know. This would be like where we play together. If there was anyone, so what we've done in other areas is we've kept some clubs. So some of the clubs have merged and became venues. So, but because you're all so large and I don't know your area, is there, I don't know how far away Amberley and Waio are from each other, but there would also always be that potential that the club could stay as the top layer and the other two layers become venues of the club. But I didn't do that to you because I was like, oh, I don't know how it works down with you because I don't know your distance. So is there anyone, I can just shut this here, no, go back one, and we could have, is there anyone who could give me an example of what it could look like? There. Yeah, so what was that suggestion? Does someone want to pop that? Like I could show that. So currently you haven't got North Canterbury, you've got, normally you do it here like this, you'd go, what was it, Huranui?
Yeah.
And you'd have, because you're staying within the same club, and you do something like that, and those two become branches. And why is my internet playing up? Let's see if it picks up. Of course, it went straight back to the beginning. This is the problem when families at home and they're using the internet.
But like you could start, obviously, you guys do have kind of those, at the top, like if you're taking out the Canterbury area, well, then you've got a layer there as well. Canterbury, Huranui, and North Canterbury.
So that was an example. If you decided to have a club and then you've got a club and then you've got a venues of the clubs, but as I said earlier, you're all quite large in itself, and you might want to join, so there's one less committee. You might want to stay independently. I just saw a question. Yep.
Sue's got a message. Could the current clubs continue as a subcommittee of an area, and then they wouldn't need to be incorporated? Yeah, that's an option.
But that's back to the 4 layers, isn't it?
Yeah, but not being incorporated.
Yeah.
But not being incorporated. So you could have, I know that Waitemata Rodney, they're kind of like this, and they decided that they might have selection committees, but not formal committees, but they'd have committees within the area that could be putting together teams and things. Like, yeah, you could have a non-incorporated society meetings, but then you're actually not reducing the administrative volunteer burden. But you could still say, if you've got traditional events like the Bangor, Banks Peninsula, Ferrymead, Hellswell, Riverdale, Springston, Waihora, and West Melton, Whedon, you could still continue having your inter-club events like you've always had, but instead of it being organised by Christchurch, you just know that you're on a rotation together and use that historical purpose.
So there's a second part also to Sue's question. The subcommittee of the area that we talked about earlier, and also then changes could be discussed and considered in the future, not by April 2026. A tight time frame is what Sue's implying there, I think.
So with this feedback, there's always the option, if you don't vote yes to a formalised 3-layer structure, there's always the option currently in New Zealand Pony Club for a 3-layer structure today anyway. So, but collectively, if the majority of New Zealand decides it will be a 4-layer structure, a 3-layer structure, and that's voted on, then we will support you through the change. We've got documents, we've got tick sheets, we've got everything in the background, you know, to support you through to how it would look for you and how it would work with you and working on your area to get over the line. I don't know if I answered that question.
The other thing is, obviously, we could, you know, this has always been on the radar for a long time. We've been talking about this.
Yeah, and also, you know, it does appear to be a tight time frame, but remembering it is June now, and we would get through to April next year. So there is enough time. Your whole season is going to be at the other end of the season. Yeah, I didn't see that question either, sorry.
It's minimum number of youth members for a club to be viable, and obviously, currently it's 7. And so
Inferred.
7 with 8.
Inferred.
Yeah, inferred that it's 7 with 8 adult members. And so the Constitution, I mean, the 1905 Act says that there has to be 15 members, whereas the 2022 Act, it's 10 members as a requirement. So how we structure that, we've still got to figure out whether it's 5 and 5 youth, 5 adult, I don't know, or is it still 7 youth? I don't know. We're a youth organisation.
It's definitely going to be something that we're not going to come along and go, oh, it's meant to be 5 and you've got 4, or it's 5 and you've got 3. See you later, hit the road, Jack. That would be the part of the Constitution that you would be able to alter for that year. You'd be able to apply for an alter for a modification to your Constitution, and then we look at it like the reduction of the quorum, but we look at it and we help you see how you can get more youth members. So there's definitely some flexibility in that, and that's been a question for particularly very small branches that are struggling for that, but they are operational and they've got the purpose of Pony Club. So it's not just looked at singularly and going, okay, we've got no youth members. It's the purpose of Pony Club alongside that youth membership.
Hi, Gail Mitchell from Christchurch Pony Club. With the current, because we have got high numbers, and this is just throwing it out there, if we were to have all the branches, the current branches in Canterbury, adopted, like went to being clubs, and then rather than only having one Canterbury, have a North Canterbury and a South Canterbury, or Central and South, depending on the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So you could also do that. And see, I don't know the split well enough. So, you know, but you could definitely do that, like North Canterbury, South Canterbury. And that's what is on this slide, splitting the area into becoming two hubs / clusters. But, you know, people come to us and go, oh, well, who would our riders ride for? Well, they could either ride for the 2 split traditionally, or they could still ride under the Canterbury area in the Canterbury colours. Because you don't need an incorporated society to actually go, okay, we've got North and South Canterbury, you know, North Canterbury and South Canterbury, or Mid Canterbury, whatever you're going to call it. We're still going to put a team in. You don't need an incorporated society to put those 2 teams in. You just need to have conversations and go, okay, we've got these people, let's put them in. And you guys were amazing last year at Eventing Champs. You guys were amazing at Champs Week. You support your riders, you remove the barriers, you let them go. You know, you don't sit there and go, oh, well, we've got one team, see you later, goodbye. You're actually, what we're aiming for, you've got your NQSs, come along, be part of it, be an individual. And that's what we actually want to encourage the whole country to do, because some of these riders, that's their top they're ever going to get. You know, my top that I ever got was Pony Club Champs. I wasn't like Dina here and rode internationally. So, you know, I still remember every single jump of Avondale 1987. Every single jump.
Another comment from me is, given the layers we have in Canterbury with branches, clubs, and area, not we have a lot of volunteers, and they don't carry too many hats. So I'd be concerned that if we remove a layer, that we may lose some volunteers. So I think that's probably something we've got to be conscious of, that we are inclusive of all those current volunteers in any structure we put together.
Absolutely. I think you guys are so lucky to have so many volunteers. It would be really lovely if you could include them by then obviously saying to people, to spread the love around and like to have them there as mentors or supporting the stepping through process. That I know that Tauranga Pony Club used to have lots of volunteers, and I stepped up from being my branch president to the DC and brought more people up. But just that cycle of change, and now they can't even get a committee at their club level. So we'd love to know how you get your volunteers on board and how you can get that succession planning. Would be brilliant, and share that with the whole country. Would be amazing. We can also celebrate them by nominating them for life membership of clubs and branches in New Zealand Pony Club as well. Because look, we've still got Anne.
We all need
and Geraldine
Anne.
if she's here. If Geraldine's here, hi Geraldine, if you're here, we have done a shout out to you.
He is there.
She is there. Excellent.
Cool.
Michael, there we are. Because I'm talking with Lester all the time.
Hello, G2. It's definitely not about getting rid of our volunteers. It's about reducing that volunteer burden, but we don't want to get rid of any of you. You're our treasures. And you're actually our biggest risk, because if we lose our volunteers, we do lose that knowledge and history. Yeah, so what's right now is, I know it's really hard because conceptually we haven't come along and said to you, this is what it's going to look like, because we want your input and we want your voice. So it could look like Canterbury and all the branches become clubs. It could look like Canterbury where most of the branches become clubs, but one club's got, some of you have stayed and become venues. Or it could look like that split, and the area splits and becomes 2 sub-areas or 2 hubs or 2 clusters. Who decides where they end up? You guys. So that would be our next massive amount of work. If the structure, the 3-lever structure comes together, there would be more focused directive questions, meetings, and all of that, with more detailed support documentation, because we know that best fit for you is not the best fit for Bay of Plenty, or it's not the best fit for Auckland or Northland. And it's interesting because what you're saying here with the split, Hamilton is considering this type of model, where Waitemata Rodney is quite condensed geographically, and they're looking more at go backwards, this type of model like this, because they're quite close geographically together. So it really depends on what's that best fit. So we'd be working with you, but what we need right now in lines of that timeline is that feedback. Is this something that you support, the idea of the 3-layer structure, the proposal of the 3-layer structure, or if you want to maintain status quo? Because that is the feedback that will determine what the board presents. Okay, so if you're looking for, now there's some other changes in the Constitution as well, and so these are ones that you also have to be aware of. And if you came to the original webinars, you might be aware of these as well. The best way to give feedback, Rachel, is on our NZPCA website. So I went to resources, constitutional update, and there is a survey link right there. I've also put that survey link, if you're on Facebook, it's gone out a few times. Tomorrow morning, depending on what time our meeting finishes, you will get a follow-up email. My email's gone to every adult member over the age of 18 has current member should have got the email about the Canterbury meeting. They'll also get the email about the minutes, every current member, and it will have the link there. And the link, if you click on the link, it will take you to here. You don't have to put your name in, you don't have to put your email in. But if you do have a question that you want me to answer, I do need the email option. A must is what area you're in and what describes you best as your role. And here it is, the structural change. Do you strongly support, somewhat support, you're neutral, somewhat opposed, strongly opposed, not sure? Just tick that. If you've got any questions of impact here, and if you've got any other suggestions about the Constitution and the changes, and here's the proposal for the changes. They're on that constitutional website. There are 3 big changes. So this membership layer is one of them. The second constitutional change is that we currently have a president, David. He is about to end his term with us as the president. Geraldine was the president previously. And that role is looking at being no longer a role. It is my understanding it was part of the Committee of Management. We've got these experts, Anne and Geraldine, here, so they can jump in. It's a figurehead role. David does the most amazing job. Love traveling around with him. Under this proposed change, it would see me as the main officer and the board chair is chairing the AGM. Now, if that's something that you don't like and you don't want to see the change of, you know, pop that feedback into the other comments and questions. We'd love that feedback too. Also in that, the disputes process. We're trying to make the disputes process clearer and more in line with Sports NZ best practices. And so what that actually means is when we get a dispute now, if the dispute is something that should be handled by the police, like a situation of a fight, a physical fight, then the police would handle it. It would be not us, it's with the police. It's a civil matter. If it was something like fraud or anything like that, dealt with by the police. If it was at an event and it was an event rule, it would be dealt by the event and the officials on site. So that's clearing up the process there. There was a question there about...
It's just about the voting for the Constitution and the structural changes will be dealt with separately. That's what they're asking. Who is it? Justin and Angela. But no, they are going to be confirmed. They're going to be voted on as one document that we present to you at the AGM. So therefore, it's really important to get your feedback in now around that. So yeah, it won't be sections of the Constitution. It's just one whole entire document that you'll be voting on at the AGM.
Because the Constitution actually lays out the structure of New Zealand Pony Club. So the Constitution lays out if it's area, club and branches.
So are you saying that the structure of the whatever they're going to be, that administrative layer or middle layer, has to have been completed prior to you putting out the last version of the Constitution?
No.
No.
No? Yeah, because I'm just trying to think how people, and I'm just thinking of this area, how they would come to a conclusion about the best way. I support the 3-layer. It's what Nikki and I took to the country 11 years ago, well, 13 years ago.
Yeah.
But it was just a step too far at the time because I think people were focused completely on the introduction of a board and they were a bit terrified about that. And so it became evident that we just needed to park it, which it got parked for slightly longer than was probably anticipated, to be honest. But I think it's more about how that administrative level is formulated in any area, whether Canterbury chooses to stay as they are.
So it'd be area or hubs.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going back to Lizzie's timeline, that you vote on the 3-layer structure, whether or not that we want that, depending on the feedback that's come through. And then in September or late August, September, early October, we would be working to get the structure that you guys kind of want. And then we'd get a constitution out for that, depending on how that's looking. So,
and I could imagine that
I'm just
would look
aware
different.
that currently the Constitution actually names the areas.
Yeah, and it might be it might say in it, like, I understand what you're saying, where it says area, it might say area / hub. So there'd be the two area / hubs. So then you get to choose if you're going to be the area model or the split hub models, because I guess the word cluster was just a grab, but you know, a split of an area would be hubs. Oh, it's not showing up. It's like, no, I don't like that. Yeah. So what we need from you now is, do you support the proposal of the structure of reducing the layers? And it would be, yes, we support it. No, we don't. And I know that it's still very conceptual in the fact that you can't see what it might actually look like for you, but we'd be doing that with you, not to you. So it would look different around the countryside.
Yep.
So that is definitely where the survey is there. That's where you'd find. So you can go and do that at any time, resources, constitution update, or on our Facebook page, or wait for the link from me. The other part that, you know, that's probably in line with this is that we have got our AGM in Christchurch.
In Christchurch.
Thanks, Becky. And it is the weekend of the 1st, 2nd and 3rd of August. We are having a national forum open to all versus an area forum on the Friday. Interesting. So far, there have been no topics, but don't worry, I've got topics for us. So if no topics come from the floor, we've got some topics. We've got practical workshops and presentations, and we've got the AGM, and the AGM, if you're in that region, is free. The AGM only is a free come along to. But if you want to come along, we are definitely making it practical workshop sessions. And actually, that's where I met you, Anne, at the Chateau on the Park for the first time after many months on the phone with you. At the Chateau on the Park. So it's kind of like full circle for me. Conference registration is there. If you need to get funding, we can write you a really good letter to go with the funding and the notice of the AGM. We haven't been advertising it. We just need to get the coaches conferences done. Our last one's this week. But we are really aiming for practical workshops, and I know that Becky's preparing something. Looking forward to it. We're going to have Anne and Geraldine there. Can't wait. So that's for information. A bit of a plug, but if you can't be there and you've got a vote, and of course in your area, Christchurch has 3 votes, Whirinui has 2 votes, and North Canterbury has 3 votes, and the area has 1 vote.
Lizzie, could you just go back to the other page? So just there is also the question and answer page. I don't think we highlighted
absolutely.
that. Yeah,
so no, I didn't.
There's 22 pages of current questions and answers from all of the other clubs, branches and areas that we've received. So again, if you have a question or something, please go to that and have a look there.
Yeah. So Anne's been there many times. she's come and asked me questions on it. I'm like, oh gosh, good point. So yeah, definitely put your questions in there and put your questions into us. And if you've just got a question, you can log it here, or if you put them in the survey. But remember, the surveys you don't have to put your name. Absolutely optional. You can not put your name, but if you do have a question, I do need to know who to respond to. Yeah. And all
So
the
we've
other
got
recordings.
another question here from Justine and Angela. How we can expect it to vote on a structure when it appears unknown. Can you show how the final structure will look for Canterbury? At the moment, it feels that we're just being asked to vote on something that can't be described in detail.
Yeah,
Well,
we could come along and say forcefully, oh, we think it's best that you have Canterbury and all the branches become clubs. We could do that and say, okay, that's what it would look like. But then we don't want to do that because we want you to have a say in it. So it would either
and
look. You go for a minute,
sorry,
Kelly.
Lizzie.
No, you go. So I'm just trying to get this computer working again.
And it's more the concept of actually moving from. Do you want to vote from having 4 layers that we currently have more to voting to having 3 layers? And we are aware that obviously there is going to be a bit of work to be done in that late August to September, early October period.
I would say you're going to either look like this slide on here, where you're retaining the area as the second layer and all branches become clubs, or this layer here where you're retaining Canterbury, but you might have a mixture of some clubs merging, some branches merging and becoming under their clubs with different venues. So this is probably one of the biggest models that I have seen the most of, this, or if you wanted to split a hub, that you would look like this, that you would look like your 2 halves of Canterbury, depending on what you want to do, with then your clubs underneath. So that is what I imagine you would look like.
Or you could be 3 hubs as well. You've got to think about how that administrative layer would function and support all the clubs below as well, is the important consideration.
Yeah, so we want you to have a little bit of flexibility in what suits you, because as we know, I don't know exactly where you're sitting location wise. I can only base it on these numbers here. And if I was looking at these numbers here, you know, if I was to go along with this, I'd say, okay, Belfast is quite little. And who else is the littlest next? And they could be under the North Canterbury branch and things like that. But that might only be a once in this year number figure thing, where I know that I was working with Wellington yesterday, and they've got a branch that doesn't want to be part of a club anymore because it doesn't want to help with events. It wants to focus on the grassroots and the fun and no competition, because it's got no competition riders. So it no longer wants to be a branch under the club that is very competition heavy, because they don't have the riders that want to go there. They can do that at any time by themselves. So yeah, we do understand it's really hard to vote on something that what it appears to not look like it's known, but this is the concept of this is the conversation, because it has to fit you. How is that going to be decided? So that would be decided with us sitting down with you all, having conversations at the area level, you as clubs and branches having a discussion and having a voice in it. I know that when Anne and Nikki went on the road, you were just going to take up the club layer, weren't you, Anne?
Yeah, correct.
And we wanted more that you had some options to think about what was best for your area and your people. So as we are at the moment, we're just gathering the feedback if you think it would work for you. And if you think that, no, it won't work for us at the moment, it's too unknown, it's too grey, in your feedback survey, you would be saying, no, we want to retain the current layers of Pony Club. But if you think that you could see that this would work and you understand that would be going down one layer, then you'd be going onto your feedback survey and saying, yes, we support a 3-layer change.
So
and talking about how it's voted on. When I did an area meeting last year for eventing champs with the area meetings, we ran under the same rules as the NZPCA constitution. So it was a meeting at area, so they all voted based on their clubs and as per the area constitution.
Just to back up, well, I suppose just a reminder for the survey, a little bit of because that's very, very important for us on Thursday. Everybody can fill out the survey. It's for the membership. So yeah, so please encourage all of your members to go and fill out that survey.
And you're definitely going to be seeing the results of the survey. Last year we did an annual report survey. 191 people filled in the survey. If they put their email in the survey, they got the results for the survey. The survey, I think, was also summarised. I can't recall, but I think I summarised it in the e-Gazette. But one thing we are going to do is adding to our website is putting a survey page as well. So the constitutional survey results will definitely be there. And I absolutely agree Deb's transparency, which we're trying to be so transparent. That's why we're not coming in and saying it has to be this way. It has to be this way. And we know that it's going to affect every club differently. Competitions, yes, but the rules of the competitions have been are to the side. The rules of the competitions are to the side. They come out of the constitution. Yeah, if Sarah, if you don't feel that you've been around long enough to make an informed decision, you could go into the survey and put not sure, or you could put neutral. You wouldn't be the only one who's popped that. Okay. Are there any other comments or questions or anything like that that you need from us? Cost of changes to nominate. There would be no cost to changes to nominate. I'm sure. What can I ask Rachel? What costs you think what might change to nominate?
I suppose the structure that's sitting under nominate at the moment with the clubs and where people belong and that sort of thing, I would imagine there will be some sort of cost to those changes.
That would just be an administration cost on us making the changes with nominate.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, that it would be an NZPCA cost, not a club cost or anything, but there will be, I'd imagine, some sort of admin cost to all these changes, and whether that's been considered anywhere in the mix. Yeah.
Costing probably won't be that significant because of how they have got it set up, and the other probably factor I think is it's going to be stepped out over a bit of time. As such, once we actually know how we're looking, once we've lodged all the constitutions for everyone else, so depending on what that structure is.
Yeah, I think if there were name changes, what Nominate would do is take our current names and use a document, a CSV file, which I would give them, and they would just load the new names in the background in one upload. A bit like when we upload to MailChimp for e-gazettes and things like that. I know this year when we did the membership fees, they updated the membership levies, I emailed Nominate and said the membership fees need to update, and they just do something in the background. It's not going in club by club by club by club. They can do it all in the background as a national, as an organisation merge.
Great. That's sort of what I was asking, that nobody
Yeah.
should be expecting, huge costs with any of this change from a grassroots point of view.
No, absolutely not. We're not seeing this as a cost venture for any of you or revenue gathering for us in any way, shape, or form.
Great.
Yeah. Okay, so if there's no other questions, you're most welcome to carry on with your evenings. Thank you so much for being here with us. As I said, I will get the minutes out to you as soon as I can, and the link to the meeting as soon as I can. It might even be tonight because it's not that late. And we really appreciate the time that you've taken to come in here tonight and be part of this with us.
Thank you very much on behalf of the board for attending and giving us your thoughts.
Thank you all for your